Hey,
Good.
welcome to another episode of the Black Man's
Sorry.
Roundtable.
I'm Kevin Evans, co-moderator.
And I am Rodney Butler. I am your co host for this evening. And today on the roundtable, we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Martin Raxton. He is running for the District 3 County Commissioner for Douglas County. And before we get started with our interview, Martin, please let the people introduce yourself and let the people know a little bit about you before we get started with the questioning.
All right, great. Well, thank you again for allowing me to be here. My name is Martin Raxton. As you indicated, candidate for District 3 County Commission in beautiful Douglas County. Terenia Carthorne resigned from this post to run for chair for County Commission. Thus, this post is considered a special election. I will be on the ballot as early as April 29th, and our election date is May 21st. So I'm looking forward to sharing my views and visions on what I would like to do in this wonderful community.
Great, great. Appreciate that, Martin. All right, we're going to go ahead on and start the questioning. I have the first set of questions for you, Martin, and it's going to cover background and qualifications. Part one: what motivated you to run for District 3 Commissioner?
There is an opportunity to continue building on the legacy, and as I indicated, Terenia Carthorne has resigned. She served with distinction in this role, and this was an opportunity for me to help my community and serve in my community in my capacity as a leader. I have been past Democratic Party chair of Douglas County back in 2008, 2009, 2010. I have a passion for serving here and serving the residents of Douglas County. I've served as the chairman of Planning, City, and Zoning Board, as well as on the Board of Assessors for the county. So this was a great opportunity for me to say, I would love to serve in this capacity. I would love to serve as the county commissioner and to really take my vision to another level as where I see District 3 going in beautiful Douglas County.
Okay, Martin, my next question is, can you briefly outline your relevant experience and qualifications? You kind of already did that, so that probably going to happen throughout. Yes, that's probably going to happen throughout the interview. We tell the candidates that our questions are designed that way. So if you flow right on into it, we just skip right on over it because you already took care of it. So with that being said, Kevin, you can go ahead on with your section because he already took care of part two of mine.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I'm talking about understanding the role. What is your view of the primary responsibilities of a county commissioner?
So one of the things that a lot of my community asks when I'm knocking on doors is to say, what does the county commissioner do? So what I start off with is, let's talk about the city. And you have a mayor and you have city council, where that mayor and city council serves the city of Douglasville, whereas we serve as legislators for the county, for those that's outside or in the unincorporated part of Douglasville. So as a county commissioner, it is my responsibility to serve on the board of four other leaders, three that are elected by district besides myself, and then the chair, who is a full-time position. It is up to us to set certain policies and visions for the county, to operate the county, and to work with ensuring that the funds that are collected from the Board of Assessors as well as the tax commissioners are utilized and spent according to plan and according to what we have to go through as far as bylaws, policies, and procedures. Further, it's up to us to ensure that we work with our other officials that are elected, be it the tax commissioners, be it the sheriff, and other elected officials, to ensure that services are provided to our residents and they're provided with excellence. And one of the things that we want to ensure that we look at our comprehensive plan and vision and to share that vision, but also to take in the input from our residents that when we enact policies and legislations that is going to improve the community, not only for this particular industry, this particular area, but also for those that are to come and those generations that have not yet even been born.
Wow. Hey, Rodney, I think we got a zinger here because he's answering all the questions already
Yeah, I saw this part two. I'm like, Martin,
before I didn't
Martin
get
is
to it.
rolling. This interview going to be 30 minutes, man. And I think
Yeah. I'm
Martin
like,
trying to get to
wow.
the
Oh,
the draft, the NFL draft. But no, Martin, you're doing
I'm
great.
My
like,
team isn't
Jesus.
drafted to number 54, so
No,
I'm
no,
good.
no.
We're going to draft to the
Yeah,
second
yeah,
round.
no, you're doing well. And like I said, the questions are designed that way, and sometimes it happens. But I do want to, Kevin, I do want to, before we move on, I do want to talk about something that Martin hit on, and that I think one of the biggest roles for our county commissioners, to include the chair, is to become teachers, right? And I think Martin did a great job in doing that just then, and teaching the people what county commissioners actually do, because it's easy to convolute or to confuse what the city council does and what the county commission does. It's like, well, that's the same thing. Why are they wasting all these positions? So I think you did very well in that, Martin, because you've heard me say a couple of days ago that you guys have to be teachers, and I see you doing that pretty much kind of everywhere I see you out there. I see you teaching about what the position is. So, okay. Kevin, you want to finish out with your category? Are you good?
Y'all go ahead and say how I answered. Um, how familiar are you with the current challenges and opportunities facing District 3 and our county?
So, some of the challenges that I've heard, and I've been a resident of District 3 for 27 years. So, some of the things that I want to ensure is that public safety is maintained, and it maintained at a nice, quiet, leisurely pace here in this community. In District 3, we're really the bedrock for single family housing and the housing stock of Douglas County. Also, some of the things that we want to ensure is that we work with our other organizations and entities, such as our school board. So, we want to ensure that our students have what they need, the tools and resources that they need to be successful as they come through and matriculate through the school system. But also, another opportunity that we hear is sidewalks. And we've heard that the community and residents would definitely love to have sidewalks. I grew up with sidewalks in my community where I'm from. So, sidewalks and a lot of lighting, and have some really good lighting, which we are seeing. I have seen a lot of growth in that area, sidewalks as well as lighting, since I've been here over the last 27 years. And then, certainly for me, what's near and dear is mental health. I want to ensure that we have resources and funding that is placed in those areas so that we address this mental health crisis that we are facing here in our communities. It's not just a Douglas County or District 3 opportunity, but this is an opportunity across the country. And I want to ensure that we are putting resources, that we're putting those trained counselors and those other individuals that can help our community, specifically our youth. Our youth are faced with a lot of challenges that we did not grow up with, and I want to ensure that they have the resources that they need so that they are able to cope and have those mechanisms in place so that they will become viable and useful, but also those that can say, hey, my county did something for me. I remember our leaders stood by and helped me to grow and to matriculate. Thus, it's very important that we work with our youth and give the resources that they need. And one of those big resources is ensuring that they have the mental health resources and support in this day and age.
Yeah, I want to add on to that real quick, sir. I'm, I'm very much into mental health as well. Well, we have seen over the last 10, 20 years the effects of fetal alcohol syndrome and fetal alcohol effect that's now being exhibited in our youth today, and some of our parents of our youth today. So I'm really happy to hear that you guys are looking into mental health. My one question still was, when you talk about sidewalks, does potholes uh, encompass that too?
So I will share that I don't want to have potholes. I don't want to see potholes. They tear up your car. But we are in a much better position from a pothole standpoint than a lot of other places and communities where I've lived and gone. But
That's,
certainly, we need to ensure that our roads are safe. They're widened where they need to be widened, that they're paved, And fortunately, we don't have the snow and the ice that tear up the roads like we do in other parts in the country and areas that I have grown and been a part of. But definitely, we want to have safe roads and that the roads are paved and that people feel very, very safe and comfortable, and the lighting is there to ensure that driving is safe.
Thank you.
It will.
Okay, Martin, real quick before we move on, you talked about how District 3 is the single family hub, basically, of Douglas County. I'm a resident of District 3, and I constantly hear about the amount of property tax that we pay over here in District 3, and I believe what I hear a lot from the citizens is that with the amount of property tax we pay, with the amount of disposable income that's over here in District 3 from the residents, that we should definitely have more upscale. And I know people say, okay, District 3, bougie, whatever, whatever. But at the end of the day, we should definitely have more upscale restaurants and grocers and those kind of things, to include sidewalks all over the place. Just briefly, what do you think about that?
Well, I would love to have a Whole Foods here.
Okay.
I would love to
Right.
have a Houston's. I would
Oh,
love to
yeah.
have a McCormick and Smith's. So let's be clear. I would love to have those, I wouldn't say high end, but we deserve that here in Douglas County. Now, it's up to us to work with our economic development. It's up to us to work with those other elected officials, not only on the county level, but also on the state level, and to work with private sector to see what is it that we need to do in order to bring those changes into our community. And you have to believe that they are doing their feasibility study. So we need to find out, why are they not opting to come in to bring those types of restaurants and those types of grocery stores in our community. So we need to understand, learn what that is, and to be able to address that and to overcome that. Because I too believe that our residents deserve that, as well as the mall. We need to have high-end anchor stores. We need to have the Nordstroms, the Bloomingdale's, the Dillards, Macy's, those high-end stores, and guarantee you that will help to drive up some of the economic development, specifically when we're looking at taxes and value from a commercial standpoint, that we will ensure that our commercial vendors and residents are also paying their fair share of taxes and wages in this community.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next is community engagement. How do you plan to engage with and represent the diverse interests within our community?
One of the things that I do is walk. I walk an hour and a half, 2 hours a day sometimes in my community. So I engage, I interact, I see. I'm looking at what's going on in the community where I live. But also, what's most important is I have the same cell number that I've had for the last 27 years, 28 years. That's not going to change. I'm accessible. I have the same email address that I've had probably the last 20, 25 years. Also, I believe in having town hall meetings and having forums where we have input from our residents. But the most important thing is that I ask our residents to come to our county board of commissions, come to our planning meetings, hear what's going to be on the agenda. We need to hear your voice when these decisions and legislations are being made. When I was the chairman of the Planning and City of Zoning, we heard input and we ensured that we took that input in making our decisions on what was best for that community. So I ask that our community also comes out and to voice their concerns and to share that with me, not only as a district commissioner, but to the Board of Commissioners as a whole.
Okay, part two. What steps will you take to ensure transparency and accessibility in your decision-making process?
Well, first of all, I'm a transparent person. I'm one that I don't hold a lot of punches, and what you see today is what you're going to get tomorrow. So I believe in being straightforward and to share what insights I have with those in the community. I definitely would love, again, for resident input. Again, I'm going to have the phone number, I'm going to have the email address. I'm going to ask them to share that input and to have these town hall meetings and to come out and to share their ideals and what are some of the issues and concerns that they have. That helps us to ensure accountability, and then I'm going to ask them to hold me accountable on the pledges and promises that I've made during this campaign tour. And that we can dialogue, we can agree to do what is best for the long term for our community, and let's collectively ensure that we're looking at not only the short term, but also the long term gain for beautiful Douglas County.
Thank you, sir. Kevin?
Okay. Yes. I'm going to move into economic development, and some of this you may have already explained, but I'll give it a shot anyway. What is your vision for promoting economic development within the District 3?
So within District 3, I know there's been a lot of angst in regards to some of the development that has occurred on Chapel Hill Road, specifically the Waffle House, the Dollar General, some of the storage bins that have been put up. So one of the things that we need to do from planning and zoning, we need to look at what's the comprehensive plan for District 3. Now remember, District 3 is the housing stock for the county. We are not the economic development engine for Douglas County. So we need to keep that in mind. Knowing that, it will be my goal to bring in high paying jobs, technical jobs, and those companies that will ensure that our residents stay here in Douglas County and are able to make livable wages to help cover their cost of living and their cost of doing business here in Douglas County. So I would be love to work with not only the planning and zoning and looking at what type of development opportunities exist, but also our economic development department, and to see what companies, what organizations, what businesses that we can attract that are paying these higher end jobs and paying these larger and higher salaries to ensure, and oh, by the way, that our residents get first dibs at those opportunities with these organizations.
Okay. Second part of that question, how do you plan to attract and retain businesses while balancing environmental concerns?
So environment is very, very important. And I think I am a true believer of climate, and climate change is something that is real. So knowing that, Douglas County and the city of Douglasville has done a great job with sustainability. They've done a good job as far as promoting different initiatives on Saturdays for the community, for them to come out and dispose of waste and to dispose of it in a way that is not causing pollution. So I am one to ensure that I want to maintain that, to grow that, to build that out, and to bring those companies in that have that type of mindset and sustainability mindset, and one that's not going to bring in a lot of pollution, carbon monoxide, or things that will destroy the community or destroy the atmosphere, and specifically green space, as well as the clean air that we come to enjoy here in Douglas County. I love the trees. The trees bring the oxygen, keeps things nice and cool, and I want to ensure that whatever businesses that they agree and they understand that sustainability and ensuring that we have a nice, clean, safe environment is paramount to them being located and coming to this great community.
Okay. Rodney?
Okay. All right. You hit on, Martin, you hit on infrastructure a little bit, but what priorities do you have for improving local infrastructure such as roads, public transportation, and utilities, specifically in District 3, but you can definitely hit generally as well, but specifically District 3?
Absolutely. So some of that you need to understand, what are the pain points. And from my understanding, if the pain points are cost, then we need to start working with Greystone, start working with the energy companies to look to see what can we do, what types of price points are available to help ensure that we're in a range that is affordable to our community and to our residents. What's near and dear to me is to work with our county delegates that serve at the state house, as state reps and state senators. What we need to do is to ensure
Hey,
that
Martin,
we're putting for public
before you go
policy.
too deep in that, explain to our audience
Yes.
what you mean by price point.
Okay, certainly. So from a price point, there is, as an example, Department of Revenue, there is a digest and there is a ratio that we must maintain that we're governed by when we're talking about, as an example, property taxes. If you do not stay within that ratio, you will not get your digest approved so that your tax bill can go out to your residents by July 1st of every year. So that's one example where we have a price point. The second example, when we talk about public utilities, understanding then again what are the requirements, what is that range, what is that ratio that public utilities here serving Douglas County must maintain, and to work with and to ensure that the Water and Sewer Authority and Greystone and other public utilities are staying within that range that the Department of Resources, Department of Revenue, and that the state of Georgia is saying that that is fair, that is equitable, and that is reasonable for the communities that we live and serve in.
Thank you, appreciate that. And Martin, you
So,
can continue with. I think you
all
was going
right.
to talk about state house and how all that works. So you can continue with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we need to ensure, as we're working with our state elected officials and knowing who they are. I know my state senators, my state representatives, working with them and ensuring that they hear, and we're at the Gold Dome, and we're asking them to ensure that this is our agenda. This is a collective agenda for the year, be it around economic development, being around crime, being around education, and that we ask them to take that forth to enact policies and to, guess what, get resources into our community that we can utilize. And those resources, again, a lot of them come from the federal government down to the state level and then to the county level. But we need to ensure that and work with our state representatives to know and to ensure that they understand the public policies and demands that we, as at the municipal level, have for them to help us to ensure that we're maintaining and ensuring that not only is safe, affordable, and clean energy is here in Douglas County, and then specifically in District 3, that we have those projects and that we have those funds available, that if we need to do road widening, if we need to do sidewalk improvements, if we need to go out and to ensure that we have additional lighting, that we also educate our communities on what a splosh is and what does that mean, and to ensure that those funds are and that we are governed to carry out, that's going to improve the communities where we live and serve.
Okay. Part two. How do you plan to address the current state of essential services like education, healthcare, and public safety?
So education in Douglas County is very, very strong, especially public education. I'm an advocate for public education. Both of my sons have come through the school system here in Douglas County. One graduated from Chapel Hill High, one graduated from Douglas County High, and they both were able to get into their number one choice of college based on the education that they were participating in. One participated in the International Baccalaureate program, one was in advanced AP. So our school systems are very, very strong here. Our graduations rates are strong. So we need to ensure that the school systems have the resources and tools from a county perspective that are needed to ensure that our students continue to graduate at such a high rate. Next, we want to ensure that the sheriff office and our public safety have what they need to ensure that I want to maintain a quiet community. I want safety. Safety has to be a top priority. And I've heard over and over where there's a lot of innovative initiatives, especially around the youth, that have been implemented, and that we're seeing some of the benefits of those programs and some of those initiatives to help ensure that we don't have this pipeline from school to prison. We need to ensure that those resources are expanded and that they are maintained, and then working with the court systems to ensure that if our youth are first-time offenders, what opportunities, what options are available, so again, they do not have this recidivism of going back into the juvenile justice or even worse, some of the other justices and long-term criminal entities. One thing in Georgia, Georgia has some of the longest term probation and parole sentences. And we get to ensure that before we get to those sentences where we have an opportunity to work with our youth and that they're not getting these crimes and not getting these long-term sentences placed on them, that we work with and continue to build out those programs and initiatives in the criminal justice system. Lastly, when we talk about infrastructure, we need to look at from code enforcement, ensuring that our infrastructure is strong, our housing stock is strong, and that we're following the policies of code enforcement. We also got to look at sewer and water and ensure that our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, and those are maintained and that they're up to standards so that as growth continue, we can sustain the growth that we're projecting for Douglas County.
And Martin, could you hit on healthcare just a little bit?
Absolutely. Healthcare, of course, we have WellStar Douglas that's here. But again, not only do we have a good hospital system, but we got to ensure, and I'm a big advocate for Medicaid expansion. I would love for us to have Medicaid expansion. Unfortunately, that's not something that on our level that we can change. That's at a state level. But we need to ensure, and I think that healthcare is a basic fundamental right for everybody. So anything that we can do to expand healthcare coverage, and to ensure that our residents look at programs and initiatives that some of our municipalities, both at the city level and the county level, have implemented, where they're looking at healthy hearts, weight reduction, going in getting cholesterol checks, looking at your blood pressure, some of those preventive opportunities that we really ensure that we're expanding those out to our community and that we're going to our residents. And we're not just saying, hey, come to our community center, but we're going to where they're going to be at, if it's at the churches, if it's at the malls, wherever they are, to ensure that they're hearing some of the preventive opportunities for healthcare, so by that they can improve and that we are all healthier as a community.
And how do you feel as far as like urgent care, urgent care places and those kind of things? We have the hospital, of course, but do you feel how do you feel we're doing as a community, especially in District 3, in having access to healthcare via urgent care and other similar places?
Yeah, I do know there are several urgent care entities that recently have been created here in Douglas County, have started up. In addition to what we have with WellStar Douglas, I would say that there's always, as the community grows, as our population grows, we really need to ensure that we're serving them. And if we're seeing that that service is falling off or that we're not meeting the demands, certainly we need to ensure that those healthcare providers are coming in, and we got to make it attractive for them to come in. So if there's an opportunity to expand Douglas WellStar, and I know that Paulding WellStar has a huge facility now. So is there an opportunity maybe we can grow and expand WellStar Douglas or some of the other urgent care units to serve the needs of our communities? We need to be in those talks at the tables, having those conversations, and really looking at the feasibility studies of what that could potentially impact.
Okay, right. I appreciate the new, I guess it's the Piedmont Urgent right there by Target.
Yeah.
I think that is a good thing.
Yes.
And the last, Kevin, before I move on, I'm always, on infrastructure. I can't seem to ever get off of it when I get on it, Kevin. You know that. But something just to think about, Martin, is we, Kevin and I both, I think, would really, really love to have some kind of satellite, um, some kind of satellite or some kind of outpatient clinic or something like that from the VA out here in Douglas County, Douglasville. Instead of having to go to Carrollton and go to, Cobb County and all that stuff. Yeah, in DeKalb and everything. And so, and of course, way out in DeKalb for the hospital. So I'm not going to ask you anything about that right now, but it is something that I would like for you to, just think about. And I don't know any parameters of what that has, how much does commissioners and people like that have, a say in that. But it's something that I think with a growing veterans community out here in Douglas County, and there's a huge retired military community out here that's growing. It's just something to think about, and but again, not necessarily anything today, but just something to think about. Appreciate it.
Well, to piggyback off of that real quick, sorry, Mr. Rex,
No,
to
go ahead.
piggyback off of that real quick is when we have to take our compensation and pension examinations, for instance, it'll take us all the way around the world to go to a meeting that lasts 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So I agree with Rodney. Some satellite like that out here would be great. Sorry, sir.
No, no, no. I think that's a great idea, and I think there certainly is a need for that. I have great respect for veterans. My father was a veteran in World War II, and I just really applaud just the service and the brave things and acts that our veterans and those in active military continue to display to protect our communities and our country. And certainly that is near and dear to my heart. And if there is an opportunity for some type of growth or expansion or a satellite of services for veterans, I'm all for it, and would love to see what that could look like. And I just applaud the veterans community for everything that they continue to do and the leaders that they are.
Thank you, sir. Kevin.
Thank you, sir. Okay, social issues. Kind of talked about this a little bit when you talked about District 3 being the single family home mecca. But anyway, how do you plan to address social issues such as housing, affordable housing, homelessness, and mental health services within District 3 in the county?
Absolutely. So we talked a little bit about mental health, and again, ensuring that we have funds that are allocated to our providers and our mental health centers and service providers here. That is very, very critical. We also have a homeless population here. And one of the things that I'm a big advocate of, and we need to do again to see if there's an opportunity for this, is I love to have a one-stop shop type of facility where those who are homeless are able to have housing, community services, social services, education components, barbershops, salons, other activities all under one roof. And there's other cities that have been very successful in implementing that type of ideal. And that's something that I would love to see, and to love to see if there's an opportunity here in Douglas County for us to champion a one-stop shop for our homeless. And then the third question, I want to make sure, what was the third area? I want to make sure I hit on that.
Let me see. Mental health, housing, and homelessness.
Okay, affordable housing. So affordable housing,
Yeah.
one of the things that I believe in is common sense development. And serving as a county commissioner, we will work directly with the county's planning and zoning board. And we would need to be very strategic on the type of housing and the mix of housing that is brought forth to the planning and zoning board for consideration. Thus, I am a strong advocate of affordable housing. I love single family homes, housing programs to get individuals into single family housing, because to me that is just the bedrock of building a stable financial tax base. So definitely would love to work with banks and financial institutions and lending institutions to ensure that those programs are offered to our residents here, not only in District 3, but throughout Douglas County. and to ensure that our housing is built with quality and it has the standards and exceeds the standards and building codes that our code enforcement and our planners have for this particular community. So again, that's something that's very near and dear to me. And when developers come to the Planning and Zoning Board looking for variances, they're going to need to know these are standards that you're going to have to meet, or else take your proposal away from here. We're not even going to listen to it.
Great. And that leads us to my second question. What steps will you take to ensure equity and inclusivity for all residents?
Well, Douglas County is a very diverse community. And I often brag with other communities to say, if you want to see how we're doing it, come to Douglas County and see what we're doing over here, because we have some very unique opportunities here in Douglas County. I think our governing board, if you look at the school board, the city, the county is very diverse, and it represents the community and the residents that live and work here in Douglas County. The school system is very diverse. So we want to ensure that as we're bringing new economic development, as we're bringing job creations, again, those high-paying jobs and those new entities, that they also represent diversity in their leadership, as well as those that we're asking to ensure that they are hired from Douglas County that come from diverse backgrounds. One of the things that I am an advocate for is, if you look at corporate boards, you want to ensure that you have diversity on those corporate boards, because at the end of the day, when diversity sits at the table, you make better decisions and you're more profitable. We need to do the same, and we're doing the same in the government arena, but we're going to ensure that those organizations that are coming into Douglas County and those corporate organizations, that they also represent and model that same pattern and behavior that we're patterning here in Douglas County, and that their boards and their leadership also represent diversity across the board.
Okay.
All right. Next category is collaboration with other agencies. And the first question under collaboration with other agencies is, how do you intend to collaborate with other local, state, and federal agencies to address shared challenges and opportunities?
So one of the good things about what I do, in addition to working every day, is that I know my federal elected officials, state elected officials, city elected officials. I can pick up the phone, make a call. I go to D.C. probably 3-4 times a year. My senators, my congressional leaders, not only in the state of Georgia but across the country, that we have supported, they know us. They know me. So with that, we have dialogue, and a lot of this is relationship building. So building those relationships and now having a seat at the table to bring these other opportunities that we're asking you to support. And oh, by the way, we're going to hold you accountable. As you know, Lucy McBeth now is our congresswoman that represents the 6th Congressional District. I have a great relationship with Congresswoman McBeth. I know her well, and again, this is an opportunity for us to say, these are the concerns, these are the services that we're asking and that your constituents are asking to bring into the community of Douglas County. And that goes also for Senator Ossoff as well as Senator Raphael Warnock. Again, we talked about the state leaders, our state elected officials, at their state reps, state senators. I know them. I go to the Gold Dome. I sit in the chambers. I hear how legislation is passed and how it's brought forth. So ensuring that we are present, that we have representation at the State House, and again, collectively, that we are on the same page with our agenda, that's how we can ensure that we're working collaboratively. And then finally, have a great relationship with Mayor Rochelle Robinson and several of the city councilmen. I was appointed again to the board as chairman of planning and zoning for the city. So I worked with that organization and that entity, have built up some great relationships, and understand how intergovernmental works, not only with the city and the state, but also the county. And oh, by the way, working with the school board members and the school representatives, and also understanding what are some of the initiatives and activities that we need to collaborate on with the county as well as with the Douglas County Board, School Board. So again, building the relationships, having an agenda, a public policy that makes sense, and hearing the voices and concerns for our community so we can move those agendas, not only again for the short term, but also for the long-term gain.
Appreciate that, Martin. I think that one of the things I talk about a lot on the roundtable when I get to that question is not only are, our political affiliations and associations are important, but I think what's even more important a lot of times are our organizations, our local, on the ground, boots on the ground organizations, that we have right here in the community. So can you speak a little bit about, how important you think that having those relationships with local, very, very local Douglas County, type local organizations, how do you feel about that, and how important you feel those relationships are?
Well, there's a saying that all politics
Yes,
are
sir.
local. And certainly, I totally agree. And having worked with the school systems, having been that parent to go to and be a coach with the tennis, with the band, basketball, other initiatives, those have given me opportunities to work with the school activities, the school organizations, working with the parents, working with the boosters with those schools. So, and it's very, very important to have those relationships and maintain those relationships. Secondly, I go to church out here in Douglasville. I go to Elizabeth Baptist Church, and it is a very community-based oriented church here, this site in Douglasville in Bright Star. And again, touching the community, hearing the residents and hearing the concerns and public policies that we need to enact, that gives us another opportunity from the faith-based community of hearing what's near and dear to our parishioners as well as to our leaders. And then in addition to that, can't overstep or underestimate the fraternities and sororities, and those are the Divine Nine. Many of them are extremely active here in the community, and all of us have joint needs and joint efforts working with our youth through our guide right, through our community service, through our political advocacy, for giving back during the holidays and other give back opportunities. Those are invaluable relationships just in and of themselves, whereby we're pouring in and trying to do some very, very positive things for our residents, while again giving back but also taking in from the community itself. And then another area is homeowners association. I belong to my homeowners association where I live. Most communities here in District 3, a lot of them have homeowners association. So here, these are some of the initiatives, these are some of the issues, these are some of the commonalities that the homeowner associations have. Again, another right here, community-based opportunity to interact with those here in our housing, in our community where we live and grow. And then also the mom and pop grocery stores, or the going to the dry cleaners, going to the restaurants. Another opportunity to communicate and to work with our economic and our private sector community. Some of them actually live here in Douglas County, so it's good to hear not only the services that they provide, but also to hear concerns and issues that they have as business owners here in the community. So those are just several of the touch points that I would say are very, very local that I have interacted with or that I continue to work with. And again, having that opportunity where communications is two ways, that I can take that with me day one going into the seat as a county commissioner to try to ensure that public policy and legislation is enacted to improve the lives of those that their very lives depend on us.
Thank you for that. Part two, you kind of covered it a little bit, but it's an opportunity for you to go into this question and be very specific, or as specific as you think you need to be. Can you provide examples from your past experience of successful interagency collaboration?
Absolutely. Let me take the example of an organization. We talked about the D9. I am a member of a D9 organization. Back in 2014, we were able to work with the Department of Revenue to get our license plate tag. That tag was now, we had to raise $25,000 and we had to have 1,000 signatures, and it took us 3 years to get that. But once we achieved that, and I helped to drive that initiative, the tags were manufactured. But coupled with that, one of the things that we wanted to do was to have revenue from those tag sales and renewals to come back to our nonprofit entity where we have a foundation. And through hard work and sweat, working with state elected representatives as well as senators, to go through several iterations of understanding how bills are passed from the Department of Revenue at the State House, and how it has to cross over from the House and the Senate, and to get pulled, to get approved, and then finally go to the governor for signature. I'm happy to report that last year we were able to get that revenue portion that has been approved and is now enacted in law, where $10 from the renewal or the new purchase of that tag now goes into that nonprofit foundation. That foundation and those funds now will go to help students that are graduating from colleges here in Georgia for scholarships and economic support. So I am very proud of that. That was a major accomplishment from our organization, and working through the elected officials, not only from a local level but also a state level. That was a proof positive of how the process can work, and it takes tenacity, but at the end of the day, you have to sell it, you have to get those to believe in it, and once they see the benefits of it, eventually they'll come around.
And you should be proud, and congratulations on that. Kevin, you got the last.
Exactly. Okay, closing it on out. Okay, what is your long-term vision for the District 3, excuse me, and the county, and what steps you plan to take to achieve it?
So long-term vision is to have P.F. Chang's, McCormick and Smith's, Houston,
All right.
those nice restaurants that we like to go to, Papa Do's. I mean, I can go on and on. Those types of really nice restaurants. To have a really nice whole food. I like to see where we have fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. I like to ensure that we have those readily and abundantly available for our communities for healthy eating. So that is something that I definitely champion and definitely promote. I would like to see more green space and more parks and recreation areas for our youth. One of the things that I see a lot here, specifically in District 3, there's a lot of dogs. So let's have dog parks. Let's see what we can do to make sure that our pets are healthy and that they have some options versus being cooped up in the house or in a garage. Ensuring that our children continue to matriculate throughout the school system, and that the community is safe, and that it's still very, very affordable, and that the housing stock is maintained, that we have single family home ownership that is maintained here in Douglas County. And just to continue to see the greenery is a beautiful place. To ensure that if we need to widen the roads are widened. We have the sidewalks, we have the lighting, we have the infrastructure there, and that the community is vibrant. And entertainment, we do have the amphitheater downtown. If there's other opportunities for more of that, where we can have a healthy nightlife, healthy entertainment for our community, I would love to see that. I would love to see some nice hotels brought into Douglas County. some very higher end hotels, your Hiltons, your Hyatts, your Marriotts, Crown Plazas, Intercontinentals. I would love to see that, and as our downtown continues to grow, to see that as Douglas County becoming a location of destination and not a pass through between Atlanta and other parts of the country. So that's my long-term vision that I can foresee for Douglas County. And collectively, I would love to see us to continue to be very diverse and to continue to be a leading economic engine that drives the metro Atlanta community.
Great. Hey, Mr. Martin, I just want to throw a bug in your ear. That rays on the river is very vulnerable right now. Be a good opportunity to get in his ear.
Well, I definitely have read that. They are definitely very, very vulnerable, and they have a very, very nice cuisine and atmosphere.
Yes.
So I would love for us to have that here as well in Douglas County. If there's an opportunity for us to make that happen and to have that conversation, let's do it.
All right, Mr. Martin Raxton, we want to thank you for coming on the roundtable. I think it was a real good interview. I think you really let the people know in District 3
Very.
what is going on, and you definitely continue to teach the people because I think that is very important for not only county commissioners but elected officials in general to do, but especially your commissioners and your council people. That said, Martin, is there let the people know how they can support you, how they can reach you. You can do that now, sir.
Absolutely. So again, it's been a pleasure and an honor to speak with you both. In order to reach out to me, again, Martin Raxton, candidate District 3. I can be reached at my website at www.electraxton, that's RAXTON.org. I'm also on Facebook as well as Instagram at Elect Raxton. And if you would like to reach out to me, my email address is mraxton@hotmail.com. Love to hear from you. Love to see you in the community. Love to have your voice and your vote. Early voting starts on April 29th through May 17th, and Election Day is May 21st. If there's anything that I can do to help and to be of service, please reach out to me. I care about my community. I care about the residents, and I would be honored to serve as your next District 3 Commissioner for Douglas County. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Martin Raxton. And on that note, on behalf of my co-host, Kevin Evans, appreciate you, brother. Until next time, we will
Yes,
see
sir.
you out in those streets and in those suites. Peace. Don't forget to check us out on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Do you have show ideas or want to be on the show? Shoot us an email at blackmansroundtable@gmail.com. And please follow us on Facebook.